Welcome to Transformational Pathways, a podcast created by Toastmasters District 46 in the greater New York area, where we share conversations from influencers within the Toastmasters community and people whose lives have positively transformed by walking down the Toastmasters path. Whether you're just getting started in your career, have had recent career changes, or you're navigating different languages, we're here to help you build confidence by discovering new tools, overcoming your fears to find your voice, and engaging in a thriving community. Enjoy today's episode.
Hi, Anna. Welcome to yet another episode of Transformational Pathways. So happy to have you here with us.
Thank you so much. It's really my pleasure to be here. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.
Absolutely, Anna. And I remember that we connected in 2020 before the lockdown. You know, I'd come down in person to your club and given a speech, and it was one of those really amazing experiences that I truly miss. The energy that you get from being in a club surrounded by actual people when you deliver a speech or a presentation. It's not comparable to being virtual today, but it is what it is. Tell me a little bit more, Anna, about your journey.
Okay. I want to say I joined the Toastmasters in May 2018. So in about maybe 2 weeks, it will be my 4-year anniversary of being a member. And I have to tell you that May 2018 was the start of my transformation. I had some like emotional issues, had been having those issues. But then after I shouldn't say stumbled into, because I had a great mentor. I don't know if you know Raymond Pan. She was the president for and the leader and an officer at NY Power Speakers for years. So we were roommates. We were roommates for half a year, and during that half year, she introduced me to Toastmaster. But that was 2016. But I didn't join it at the time. I wasn't ready yet. But then in 2018. I believe I was ready, and I checked out one meeting, and I just signed on the spot, I believe. So from there, it's a long story short. From there, I realized I find what I lost in the previous 12 years, because I had been very passionate and interested in speech giving and speech competitions. Ever since I was 1 year old, I started to perform like ballads, singing, and then starting from 5 years old, I started participating in speech contest, spoken words contest in China, and then in through college, and my first postgraduate program, I always involved in speech contest. But after that, I graduated, and I kind of lost in other things. But then 2018, when I went to that first meeting, and I realized, how come I lost speaking, such a passion for me. So I just signed up, and then starting from there, I just gave speech, and then learned from all the excellent Toastmasters members. It has been a transformative experience. Every single day I'm inspired by the people and by the stage itself. So,
well, that's so interesting. I'm glad that Toastmasters reignited this passion for speaking, public speaking and storytelling in you. Anna, you mentioned China and growing up there. Could you tell us a little bit more about your childhood?
My childhood. I would say it should be a happy childhood. My dad, he kind of cultivated my passion in words, in text. So he would carry me on the streets, and I would point to a certain word on the billboard or on the signage of the stores, and he would tell me what that is, how it's pronounced, the meaning of it. So Yeah, so he is cultivated that love. Also, the next door lady, she was a school teacher, and she wrote the ballads that I sang and performed in the neighborhood. Most of them are sarcastic parodies, funny stories about my parents. So I really enjoyed that, and I believe that started all my passion. Um, I I was born in the late in the 70s, a little before the craze in China about sending children to the best universities. So I was a free range chicken. My parents, maybe also I was the first child. By the time they had my sister 8 years later, so they put a lot of pressure on her and monitored her study. But during my time, no, they just let me do whatever I was interested. So I read about the many Chinese classic literature, including the Monkey King I talked about, also other great literatures, and a lot of romance and Chinese Western literatures and the TV shows. I spent a lot of time watching TV shows. So I'd say it's a free childhood. Also, my grandparents, I lived with them for, I think, 3 or 4 years. My earliest years, they gave me 100% freedom. I was living in the fields, growing crops with them. That was, I have to say, that um, uh, laid the foundation for my spirit to seek out freedom in many aspects in my life later. That was very crucial for me. And they allowed me to pursue, well, most of my interests, including music. I had a little wooden piano, and that was probably the start of my passion for music. And to this day, I love singing. Also, in my speech division speech contest, I sang a few lines. So singing always is a passion for me. Later on, I through my college and my graduate school, and later my teaching career, all these I would say endeavors involved speaking, involved facing the audience. My students were my audience. So yeah, I speak. I enjoy using words to express myself. I believe that's I believe that's the luck I had growing up in that era of China. Nowadays, it's really difficult to have that. So I would say I
Oh,
was fortunate. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this was beautiful. I felt like I was on a journey with you into your childhood, into the past. It was beautiful to see little Anna, like a free
Mm.
bird, as you said,
Yes.
living a wonderful life. This is great. And so, what brought you to the United States?
Ah, I graduated from my first postgraduate program in 2004. After that, I became a teacher. I taught at a university. I taught freshman and sophomore. But my major was accounting and financial management. So I taught, but I worked for international department, I mean college, where the students, they learn um, 2 years in China, and then they come to either the US or Europe to complete the rest of 2 years, and then they get the diploma. I was exposed to a lot of international culture and international colleagues. And then after a couple of years of teaching, I thought I want to see the bigger world. So my sister was already here. She came here in 2009, and then she helped me to collect a lot of information, gather a lot of information, and we identified a few schools. So then I came here in 2011 and did a MBA in the Boston area. But I lived in Shanghai for like 10 years. I loved the dynamic and a diverse culture environment. So, and there's only one place in the United States I think has that, which is New York. So I just came here after graduated from my MBA program in 2013 and stayed here until today. So.
Wonderful. And I'm looking at a public speaker, a singer, an actor. You have multiple talents, passions, and hobbies. Tell me a little bit more about what kept you going during the last 2 years.
The last 2 years. The last 2 years after the pandemic started, we started doing the Zoom thing, and I believe it was a difficult time for many clubs. People just don't find the Zoom meeting the same as the face-to-face. So I started to think, I kept going. I kept giving speech after I recovered from, I'm not sure it was COVID or not. We had some symptoms at the beginning of 2020, but it's different from COVID. But it was a difficult time for me. So after, I think by July 2020, my symptoms were gone. And then I just went back to giving speech and involved in the club efforts. Then I started to think how to keep people motivated to give speech. I realized it's really not about, it's not solely about the environment. Of course, Zoom meeting is different. But if we think giving speech, preparing speech, writing the speech is a journey of ourselves. Each story is about ourselves. We just need to dig deep into our own story and then writing it and then rehearsing it and delivering it. It's about ourselves. It's just like a commitment. When we give a commitment, it's not about the other person. About this, I gave a speech some time ago. I talk about the vow, the marriage vow. When you give a marriage vow, you cannot say, okay, as long as you behave, as long as you're good to me, then I will love you. No, it's not like that. It's, I just love you regardless how you do. That is called a commitment. If we talk about the commitment to the club, to giving speech, to Toastmasters, it's all about ourselves. I want to get deeper into myself, to find out, to have discoveries about myself. I write about it. I think about it. I contemplate about it, on it. It's about us, ourselves. Once we think through this, it just, it naturally flows from there. So that's why I had a great time, actually, in the past 2 years, because, well, we can save some travel time and use that on writing our speech. So.
Absolutely. I think, you hit the nail on the head when you said it's all about commitment. And it's also, every story is about ourselves. So in so many ways, it's self-discovery. Yeah. As you build a story or a speech, you uncover so many aspects of yourself. You try to understand the underlying sentiment behind, your story. And that is very important. And I think it leads to A, self-discovery, and B, self-reflection, right? Yeah. And it takes time. And I believe a lot of members did struggle during those 2 years with so much going on. All of us faced a lot. There was a lot of uncertainty too, which, by the way, leads to more stories that we can share once things start to slowly come back to a new normal. That said, Anna, now that you've been with Toastmasters for 4 years, what are the different roles that you have played at the club? Toastmasters is not just about public speaking. It's also about developing leadership skills and capabilities, and there are different roles that any member can take on at the club level or the area level or above that. So have you played any particular roles? Has it helped you to shape or has it helped you as a leader?
Absolutely. 2018 to 2019, the first year I joined, I was just a member. I was trying to learn all the parts involved, mostly preparing the speeches. At the very beginning, if you look at me now when I give a speech, you really cannot imagine how I was like in 2018. I seriously couldn't control my facial muscles. I couldn't smile at all. And many other members told me they had exactly the same experience. So that first year, I was just trying to go through the program, the pathway program, and learned how to give a basic speech. And the second year, at the time, the club was looking for a president, but we had the membership decreased in the club, so there was really not many options. I told them very seriously, I don't want to become the president. When they talked to me about it, I said no. But then we just couldn't find someone, couldn't find anyone. Then I said, fine, I'll do it. And then I'm someone like, if I say yes to something, I'll just have to do it at least to the level of my own satisfaction. So once I took over in July 2019, I realized there was a lot of things that must be done. So I just started doing it. A few things I did. I would write emails beforehand to encourage everybody to sign up for the roles. And then after the meeting, I would write a long recap, because I enjoy the writing. So it's not a problem for me at all. I write recap emails to people. And later on, some member told me those recap emails really meant a lot to them. It was, it encouraged them, it cheered them up. So I was really glad to hear that. I think in July 2019, we had maybe 8 members. But then by early 2020, when the time you visited us, we got to 23 people. So it was great. During the time, I visited a lot of clubs. I tried to learn from how they organize the meeting. I invited people from other clubs, excellent speakers and leaders to our club to give speech, also to be our general evaluator, to tell us how we can improve. Yang Paul and Penelope, they were all there. So they really were helping us to grow. And that's why we had a rapid increase in the membership. So that year I was the president for NY Power Speakers. It was another transformative experience. And after that, I have to tell you, after that experience, I told my Mom, I'm not used to not being a president anymore. I actually wanted more. But then I know my focus at the time was to do a career transition. So then I said I couldn't. When I do something, I just want to give 100% of myself. So after that year, I focused on my career transition, and I am in the process. I'm in the process. So 2021, I believe I joined the Toast Leadership Roundtable. I was trying to be because in that club, if you go to visit that club, you'll see all of them are the big shots in the district. They are officers, leaders, and I was trying to learn as a member that year. This year, I I wanted to have more responsibility, but in another way, rather than instead of being an officer, I participated in the contests, and so I gave the speech, my contest speech early February in our club contest, and Mr. Michael Sachs, he gave me a lot of great advice, and also other members gave me feedback. So I just went back and I watched all the performance from the champions in the international Toastmaster international speeches. So starting from there, I was on another transformative experience. I watched all their experience, all their performance, and I read books on effective speaking by Dale Carnegie, and also other storytelling books. And if and then I totally changed my contest speech for the area, and I was able to move on to the division. In the division contest, I I improved my speech again, but we had very strong competitions. So, but I stopped there. But the whole journey this year, contest experience was amazing. It pushed me so much ahead as a storyteller.
Wow, wonderful.
The
I have to look up Leadership Roundtable now that you spoken so highly about it. And yes, some very familiar faces there from my club too. But this is amazing. And I have been a president in the past too. So I get that feeling when you're meant to lead the club. It's a really interesting role. I was pretty much intimidated when they asked me to become president, but I learned in due time, in due course, that it was one of the easier roles to play. But it also places great responsibility on your shoulders, because you're now in charge of the whole club and ensuring that your officers are able to meet their goals for the year. And I think it teaches you a lot. The learning curve is steep, but it's definitely a great experience. And I do hope at some point after your successful career transition, you become president again at your club. Sure. It would be wonderful for your members, from what I'm hearing, especially with the writing skills that you bring in too, along with so many other things. And that brings me to my next point. You're also into sports. Tell us a little bit more about that.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
I said you're also into sports.
Sports. Oh. Sports, singing, writing, and speech are like air and oxygen. I couldn't live without. Yes, I starting from probably 6 or 7. I started. I joined the school's basketball team. So we trained every day. Until this day, I'm a good 3-point shooter. But I didn't grow as fast as other girls. They are very tall. I'm small. So the coach said, it's really, I'm not that promising as a basketball player. So he advised me to change to running. And I did. So starting from probably 7 or 8, I trained in middle and short and the middle distance running, 400 meters till 3,000 meters. I was happy about my performance, like in college and later on the first year in my first postgraduate program. I was the champion in all the running games. So I was happy. And I think that made me very competitive. I just want to win, mostly win myself. But then in 2003, that was my last time participating in a racing game, because, I was maybe 25 or 26 at the time. It was probably more difficult to compete with 18 years old and 19 years old. And then I discovered a half marathon. Starting from there, every year, not in the past 2 years since the pandemic, um, except the past 2 years, I would always found maybe two, at least one or two half marathon to run in. Um, it's another character training thing for me, especially the last few miles in the half marathon. You really have to rely on your willpower. Uh, Otherwise, it just really kind of difficult to finish. So that helped me a lot to be strong, to hang on there until the finish line.
Amazing. I knew you were into basketball. I had no idea you were into running and marathon. See, we aren't covering so much about Anna as we go along. Now tell me more about photography and graphic design.
Wow, you know everything. Did I put everything there?
You are an all-rounder, Anna, and I'm sure our audience would love to hear all about this.
I didn't realize this, but when I remembered the books I was interested in reading, and I remembered I read books about patterns, about color, about fashion design. I had been interested in those stuff. And then after I graduated from my first postgraduate program, uh, and then I started to make a living. I started to have money to support all my hobbies. So photography is one because it involves composition. It's very similar to writing. You have to decide how to position all these elements. And then it's storytelling. It's storytelling with color, with shapes, with patterns. So at the time I was at Shanghai, there was a master class given by a French photographer at the Shanghai Alliance organization. So I joined that, and one project, people have to, I mean, the students must have found a project to show and to present a, we call it photo essay. I went to the largest landfill place in Asia, which is in Shanghai, a very remote corner in Shanghai. I went there and I interviewed some of the residents there, and I took pictures of all the boats. It's actually very tranquil place. It's not like garbage everywhere. No, it's very organized. People there live a peaceful life. I give the photo essay a name called the Song of the Old Port, because Old Port is the name of that place. So it was good. It was something I'm really proud of. And over the years, I just keep doing photography work, but as a hobby, not as a profession. Yeah. I used to maintain a WordPress image log, image site. I would post every weekend. I would go somewhere and take pictures and write a short piece. So it was a great experience for me. I stopped in 2016 after I met my boyfriend. So I just moved on to other projects. But photography is always in my heart. Nowadays, I take pictures for people, for family around me. Every day, if I go out for a walk, I may take some pictures and save it uh, for future memory purpose. So yeah, that's about photography.
Very interesting. So you're a storyteller who uses multiple mediums to express yourself.
Life is just so beautiful. How can we help not doing it?
Absolutely. And I'm so in love with what you've mentioned here in your little write up. You know, language cannot fully express the soul, but it's the best we've got.
Yes, yes. And in order to express ourselves the best we can, we have to, it is a hard work. You have to polish your words. go back to it multiple times to rewrite your speech. It's a hard work, but once you put in time, put in hard work, then the result, it will for sure make you proud.
Wonderful. And Anna, before we wrap up, do you have any final words for our audience?
Final word. I hope to hear more stories from everybody because everyone has so many stories. If we can all best utilize this platform, it's such a great platform and almost free. $7.50 each month. That's almost free. And you can have so many opportunity to look for yourself, to have discovery about yourself. What a great thing that what a great power we have here. So I hope all of us could take better usage of, make better use of this. Also, I have a question for you. You are an amazing speaker, storyteller. So this year you were doing this podcast interview. Do you have other plans for your future as a storyteller?
Oh, wow. Thank you for that question. And thanks for your kind words. I have, I had my own podcast in 2020 called Heroes of New York. And I did 2 seasons of it. And it was my first experience producing a podcast. And it was great. Obviously, I learned a lot of things. I work in the tech sector. So for me, this was very new and very different. And it was kind of stretching my limits too. So I liked it. But, I have a 10-year-old son. I have a full-time job. I was also doing this podcast, plus doing storytelling on the side, attending open mic storytelling contests.
Wow.
And it got to be a lot for me. There was too much on my plate.
Yeah.
And something had to give. So after 2 seasons with my podcast, I put it on pause.
Yeah.
And this year, of course, Jan Paul reached out to me asking me to host Transformational Pathways, which is much easier than producing the entire podcast. But everything else, including my Toastmasters journey, has kind of come to a pause only because I'm not able to focus on all aspects of my passion. So for a while, and I believe it's very much a short period where I'm not working on stories, but I'm hopeful not too far into the distant future, I will be back with storytelling. I haven't decided on what format it will be, but I will definitely come back because it's one of my favorite hobbies. It's my passion. So definitely will be back.
Okay. Yeah, I will definitely be looking forward to hearing more stories from you because when you are on the stage, you are so watching you is a transformative experience.
Oh, thank you. I miss the stage. I have to tell you this. I definitely miss it. In 2020, I did a lot of open mic storytelling contests, which were virtual, and I enjoyed it, but it's not the same. Like I said, as being on the stage in the same room as your audience and feeling their energy, because you feed off of that as a speaker. You need that energy to go to the next level in speaking. So I hope that will happen very soon.
Mm-hmm. Sure. All right. Okay. I wish you the best. And check out our club sometimes.
Oh, I definitely will do that. Thank you so much.
This was Sorry. Maybe I want to do some publicity here. We have an open house on May the 2nd. I can provide the link. If the audience, anybody is interested, we really welcome everyone to
Leadership Roundtable?
Yeah, Leadership Roundtable.
Okay. So on May 2nd, Leadership Roundtable has its open house, and Anna is going to provide us a link here that we hope you can attend. So feel free to. An open house is where you can go see what the club really does, how they function, how often they meet, and you can ask them plenty of questions. And to Anna's point, each one of us is a storyteller. Mm-hmm. And Toastmasters is a safe, comfortable space where you can come forward and share your stories and get the help of other members to shape it or strengthen and solidify your story, right? So that's the power of Toastmasters. It's not expensive. It's a safe and comfortable space to practice your speeches, your presentations, or your stories and get feedback on how to make it even better. So I hope you check out the link that Anna is going to post. You can also look at other Toastmaster clubs in your district and choose something that fits your bill, because every club is different. They have their own culture, and they're tailored differently depending on the needs of the audience. So you can pick one that suits your needs. With that, I'd like to say thank you so much for tuning in today and listening to this episode of ours. See you next time.
Thank you so much for joining us on Transformational Pathways. If you enjoyed today's episode or got anything out of it, please rate, review, and subscribe. And if you're interested in learning more about Toastmasters District 46, check out the link in the show notes below.